Hello, hello, folks. This is Emilia from Userpilot, and today I'm going to show you basically how to create and set up free product experiments that are going to radically transform your activation, so new user activation and feature engagement. So if you're watching this recording, I'm saying recording, it's not a live workshop, right? If you're watching this footage, it means that you did not fill in the follow-up form for the live workshops, which was unfortunately required to participate in the hands-on live workshop. And I have sent you guys a couple of emails, basically like free, that I need you to fill in this extra form to check your eligibility, because the places at the live workshops were restricted to 10 people. But you know, I thought that since a lot more people signed up than then filled in the form, I'm going to record this talk, so and record basically how I'm doing the experiments, and then follow up with you by sending you a Userpilot trial link. Sorry. Cough break. Okay, so let's kick off. Let me share my screen first. Alrighty, so I prepared a little presentation for you here. Right, let me just click present and we'll get to it. Loading. Things are a little slow when I'm sharing on Zoom usually. Okay, so the title of today's presentation is Product-Led Experiments, how to radically increase activation and retention with these simple free product experiments. So first of all, my agenda for today. I will briefly walk you through the theoretical part of this talk, so how activation rate affects retention, what are product experiments and why they are important, things to remember when setting up product experiments, and then we'll get through the free simple product experiments to boost activation and how to build them without coding in minutes with Userpilot. Okay, so first of all, I'm the head of marketing at Userpilot. Formerly, I was the marketing manager at Post4T, and Post4T is Userpilot's customer, so I'll be using them as our case study, basically. And now, why is activation important? What is activation at all? Activation is the point where your new users kind of hit the certain milestones they need to hit in their user journey in order to get the value out of your product. So unlike the aha moment where they just realize the value of your product, with activation, they actually experience the benefits of your product firsthand. And why is it so important? Well, if your users don't activate in the onboarding process, if they don't experience the value, they are probably not going to stay around, and they're probably likely to churn. So let's have a look at something interesting. This is a study from Fair Market, which shows the impact on different metrics on MRR increase, so revenue increase after 12 months, if the metric increases by 25%. So acquisition, that translates directly one-on-one to 25% increase in MRR. Activation, that's 34% increase in MRR. Revenue, 25%. Well, that's obvious, that's linear. Retention, 31%, and referrals only 7.4%. So as you can see, activation plays the largest role and has the biggest correlation with increases in MRR over time. So how to improve your activations is exactly what we will be talking about, and this is exactly the kind of experiments we will do to show you basically the ROI on your in-app experiences. So Increased activation not only increases MRR, but also retention and referrals, of course. So it would lead to an even more overall effect, even higher overall effect on MRR. And now, how do you increase activation? There are a couple of ideas here for you. Removing empty states, reducing time to value with improved new user onboarding. This is the so-called fast path to the aha moment. And of course, product experiments that will show you basically the effectiveness of your onboarding experiences. Because, well, if you don't know what is actually not working or working and how much it affects your activation rates, you will not be able to improve upon it. As the classic, so Peter Drucker said, only what gets measured gets managed. So you need to know how to improve your activation metric by finding out what actually moves the needle. So product experiments are a very effective way of uncovering the impacts that different experiences have on your different user metrics. So they are very effective, but they are often not really conducted because product teams think that they are, well, too difficult to set up. So a little meme for you here. Okay, so the challenges in creating product experiments is that usually you have to wait on your developers to finish the sprint, and they're like, as you know, never happens. So you don't have a lot of control. And also another problem is choosing the right hypothesis and analyzing results. Luckily, Userpilot has a solution that allows you to do all this and more without coding. And so, yeah, I'm going to show you how to do this literally in a second. But first, a little bit of background information, kind of tiny revision of your high school statistics knowledge. So in order to run a proper experiment, you need to have a hypothesis. So basically, what you want to measure, what is the potential outcome of your experience. You need to have an independent variable and a dependent variable. So independent variables are the variables that you are going to manipulate in your experiment, and the dependent variable is the one that depends on the variables you're going to manipulate, so the result of your experiment. So if you want to, say, improve activation rate of your new users by 20%, the improved activation is your dependent variable, and your independent variable can be, for instance, removing empty state and filling it in with a meaningful template, or it can be, I don't know, adding an onboarding flow. So these two examples are examples of independent variables. I would say, especially if you're new to experiments and you want to keep it simple and you want to sort of make sure that you get consistent and reliable results, don't test more than one independent variable at a time. So don't try to remove your empty state and introduce a new product tool at the same time, because then it will be very difficult for you to tell what actually had an impact on your improved activation, if there is any improvement, of course. And if there isn't any improvement and you tested two variables at the same time, then you'll probably need to repeat the whole experiment by removing one and the other condition, then the other condition, basically one by one, so you know what actually had an impact on the result. Okay, having a goal, so a business or product objective, is super important. This should be, of course, related to your hypothesis. And then you also need to define your treatment group versus your control group. So usually, well, with Userpilot currently, you can only run A/B tests. So a test against nothing. Then nothing will be your control group, so the group that doesn't see a particular experience or that isn't subjected to a particular experimental condition, so exposed to the independent variable, if you like. And the treatment group is the one that is exposed to this variable. So, okay, experiments, one more thing to remember is that experiments do not fail. It's only hypotheses that are proven wrong. Failure is an opportunity for you to explore new options and to know that something wasn't a good guess, right? And it's never linear. You can go back and forth. So get rid of your school mindset, but if you don't get an A, then it's a failure. Basically, it's a continuous discovery process, as Teresa Torres would say. And one more tip, run only one experiment at a time. So don't try to kill 10 birds with one stone, because you'll get your results all mixed up. All right, I think we're done with the theory, right? So my first, I skipped a bit too much. My first experiment will be, my first hypothesis will be that adding a two-step product tool to social media scheduling app, so Post50, will result in higher new user activation in the treatment group and in the control group after 30 days from sign up. And how are we going to measure it? We are going to measure feature adoption for the 2 key activation point in treatment group A and control group, so B. So the 2 key activation points here will be adding social media accounts to the app and scheduling the first post. Okay, so let's have a look at the kind of tool I will be creating first before I move on to Userpilot and show it to you how to create it live. Okay, so in order to connect your accounts in Post50, you need to press at this plus button. And so we'll be creating a tooltip like this. And then we will be creating another tooltip like this here. Yeah, so pointing to where to schedule the first post, and that's it. So we'll have these two product tools, and we will run this A/B test against nothing, so against the control group. So I will show you this in a moment in the settings. Okay, and the second experiment I'm going to show you is welcome screen versus nothing. So the welcome screen is quite important because it allows you to personalize your user journey, right? So basically to give your users an opportunity to choose their own journeys. So especially if you have several personas, different user personas, this may be really, really helpful in separating them. And that way, basically personalizing the product tools to their use case so they can get to their destination in the quickest way without stopping at, like, you know, other areas of the app that may not be super relevant to their use case. So we'll be building that as well. And our hypothesis will be that a welcome screen with 2 options to personalize the user journey will further increase activation. Okay, so we're going to have 2 types of welcome screens. Welcome screen with a micro survey, where you ask your users a multiple choice question, or with radio buttons like here. I like this one more because we can basically link the radio buttons to, sorry, not radio buttons, just regular buttons, it should have mean. We can link the buttons to an experience. Okay, and experiment number 3 will be the onboarding checklist with 2 custom events linked will lead to an increase in goal completion over time. So on top of having the welcome screen and on top of having the experiences, I have a hypothesis that putting these experiences on the checklist will further increase engagement from the users and further increase the activation rate. So basically the completion of these 2 steps that I showed you earlier. Okay, and now it's time to create these experiences. So let me do a live demo for you. So I'll need to exit the preview and actually go to Userpilot. Okay. So let me go to Post50 app. This is the social media scheduling app I'll be using for this demonstration. As usual, it's loading a bit long when I'm sharing on Zoom. Okay, here we are. So you can now see the plus button for adding accounts. This will be my first goal. And the word goal is quite important. I will want to first track these goals, so the key activation events. And I can do it in two ways. I can either ask the developers to pass a custom event for me, so in this case, adding accounts, or I could tag this plus button, right, with the feature tagging tool in Userpilot. But the problem is, if you're linking your accounts, in this particular case, in some cases, it's ideal to basically tag events on the front end. But in this case, people will be moving out of the app and going to their social media account in order to basically link their Facebook or link their Twitter. So it wouldn't be ideal to actually, do it just on the front end. But to give you an idea of how I could do this on the front end exclusively, first I need to delete this feature tag because I had already used all my feature tags in this account. But I will tag a new feature. I will tag the plus button as a goal just to show you how to do that. So if you have just front-end events, you don't even need to rely on your developers to pass custom events. So I'm going to paste this URL here. It opens the URL in a new window. Yeah. Okay. And now, let me tag this. I need to wait a little bit. Unfortunately, when Zoom is recording, it takes absolutely forever for me to open anything on this laptop. Okay, so as you can see, I have selected feature tagging, and now I'm targeting various elements on the front end. I want to target the plus button specifically, or maybe the whole button, right? And when I click on the button, I'm going to call it add account, social media accounts button, click. Okay, I press save changes. Now the lights have gone off. Oops, this talk recording is not going very well. Sorry, I'm in a shared co-working space right now, and it's already like evening time, so the lights are off and they only switch on when I'm moving. Anyway, sorry for this digression. I'm saving this, and now after refreshing my screen here in Userpilot, I should be able to see the feature tag. Okay, so this can be my new goal, or I can basically create a goal that is based on a custom event passed by the developers. So say adding your social media accounts to the database would be one like that. So connect account, that is already set up here. Schedule a first post, that's another that's set up here. You can see 49% of the new users are reaching this goal, right? Let's see how this goal is defined. So what is set up here? Okay, right, I can't be showing you this, so you can see active flows using this goal, right? And this goal is set up, yes, by custom events. So custom event add account has occurred. So the developers have basically passed information from the database that the user has added one or more of their social media accounts. Okay, so let's now create a short flow that will lead the users to basically, adding their social media accounts. That will be the first thing I do. I need to go to the engagement layer for this and go to flows. This will be super easy. I click on create new flow here. I paste the URL of the app again. And again, we'll be waiting a little bit for it to open. All right, almost there. Motivational quote files while we're waiting by Dolly Parton. Now we can start creating the flow. Okay, so I'm choosing to start on this page. This is the home page of the app. And I'm not going to use a spotlight. I'm going to use a sequence of steps. I'm going to call it Add Account Tooltip. So that's our first condition. This is for new user onboarding, light theme. All right, and now I can add a UI pattern, and I'm just going to add a small tooltip here. Right, I have a few templates with the tooltip. I'm going to use this one, and now again you can see the target, and again I'm going to hit this plus button, and now I simply customize the text. It's a simple WYSIWYG. I love this app. This is an external app. It's called Rocket, which allows me to type emojis. So pointing to this element here, or add your social media accounts here. Okay. Right. Actually, I don't really need, I like this. I don't really need this piece of text, so I'm just going to bin it. Okay, and now I got this button, got it. And I want this button to and dismiss the flow. Okay, and that's it. I just want this to dismiss the flow. All righty, and that will be it for this short experience. I'm just going to add a little bit of a backdrop. Okay, so they can see the button better. Beacon. All righty. And I'm going to add a little bit of a pulsating color into this. Okay, that looks good. I like that. All right, so after I have customized this, I'll go back to navigation and I'm going to just preview it. Yeah, it looks good. This preview shows me the flow. Okay, got it. And that should dismiss it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to now publish it. And now in the audience, this is important. I would need to define the segment of the audience I want to publish it to. And remember, if you have an A/B test, right, you can basically launch the A/B test here. You need to define a goal. And remember that for each basically part of this experiment, you need to use the same audience. Right, we're going to trigger it only once, and we're going to choose an existing goal, in this case, connect account, right? And then we're going to roll out the experiment. And we will let the experiment run until the result has been determined. So until pretty much Userpilot has collected enough data to have statistical significance that the differences in your experimental basically results are significant. Okay, and now, before hitting publish, I'm just going to change this to only me, right? So I don't want it to go live, and this is a real app. Okay, this experience has been published. Cool. So now I'm going to create the second flow. And again, I'm going to create it on the same URL. I can close this now. And the second flow will be pointing the users to scheduling their first post. We'll make this flow a little bit longer because you need to do a few things. You need to select a social media account. You need to write some text copy of the post, and then you need to click the schedule button. So I'm going to choose the flow again. I'm going to call it to schedule your first post. News onboarding again, light theme again. All right. And simply put, I'm adding a UI pattern. I'm going to start from a modal with success. It's like a success screen, basically. Congrats. Party popper. I like my emojis. Party popper, yeah. Congrats, you've added your social accounts. Now, okay, a capital letter here. Now, so you added your social media accounts. Now write your first, first, not fist, first post. Okay, why is one always so clumsy when on camera, right? Probably makes you wonder. Okay, I don't need this text again. So I'm just going to bin it. Oh, I think I duplicated it instead of binning. And bin it. Okay, and now show me how, right? And now this button by default goes to the next step, and this is what we want to do. So I'm happy with this. Maybe I will just add a little bit of background, backdrop. Let me change the color. Let me use something a bit more fancy, like turquoise. I like that one. Didn't I say that? Oh, there seems to be a little bit of a bug there. And of course, this happens on camera, right? Okay. Anyway, so we have a little bit of backdrop. And now I'm going to go back to navigation and add the next step. So now we want a tooltip. And let me take this one again. I want it to point to this selection. And again, we're going to change the copy real quick. Select your social media accounts. Okay, that's fine. And now choose the accounts you want to schedule your first post to. Okay, are you happy with this? Again, maybe a little bit of a backdrop. And cool, I'm happy with it. And again, this button takes us to the next step, right? So I don't need to do anything about it. Going back to navigation. Now I'm adding another step, another tooltip. This time I'm going to target this whole basically, yeah, this whole element, so the text editor here. Okay, the tooltip is here. I'm going to change the placement of the tooltip. This time you can see I'm going to really easily put it in here. And again, change the text. Type in the copy of your post here. And again, the got it button takes me to the next step. All right, I'm going to give them some time. So I'm going to add a time delay of like 3 seconds so they can write their post. And that's it. We're happy with this. And we're going to just add another tooltip saying, okay. Now schedule your post here. And a hand pointing right. Okay, again, we can adjust the size. We can make it into a header. That's probably a little too big, but that would be. I want a backdrop. I like my backdrops, so it highlights the element. Okay, cool. I love it. I think that's enough. So I'm going to go back to navigation. And now I'm just going to preview this full flow. So remember, I see the modal, show me how. It takes me to the social accounts. I'm going to select one. Got it. Okay. Now, type in the copy of my post. Hello, world. Okay. Got it. Oh, I think there's one tooltip too many. Okay, I know what happened because this wasn't selected, so I should have used manual selection. So now let's debug this. See, this element was not found on this URL. Right, so I'm going to reposition this element really easily. And now this button is here. Okay, now it should work. Now it's good. Okay, that should work now. Let's preview it again. Show me how. Yeah, I'm typing. Am I still typing? Let's wait these 3 seconds. You can see it's like really quick and easy to create these flows. I'm just showing here again. Okay, I have one extra tooltip that I need to bin. That's the problem. Good, very good. I managed to debug it. So sorry, when creating things live like this, it can happen. So basically, let me go back in here, close this. I need to bin this whole step. Yes. All right, now let's preview this again. Sorry for this, guys. Okay. Typing. 3 seconds. And moment of truth. Will it show? Okay, I think I put the 3 seconds in the wrong place. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so got it. So debugging things in Userpilot is really easy. Yeah, I put the timed delay on the wrong step. So not on this one. I should have done it in the previous one. So back to navigation. And I am adding the time delay here. Because I want the delay to happen after this step. So 3 seconds. And now it should work. So sometimes, as you can see, you need to do a little bit of trial and error to get it all right. Now we're going to go back to navigation, and now I'm happy with this tour. So I'm just going to publish it the way I did before. So same URL, same audience, so the same treatment group. Okay, audience, in this case, it will be only me because we're going to use it for testing. Trigger once, and okay, I need a goal to use an experiment. So again, I'm going to choose an existing goal, schedule first post. It's also based on a custom event, and that allows me to roll out the experiment. Now I'm going to publish it. And this is now really, really easy. Right, so now we have published these 2 experiments. Okay. So this is basically how we set up the first experiment. So after a while in the experimentation tab, oh, I need to wave at my light here. I will be able to see basically the control versus variant group. So I have actually conducted a similar experiment before and wanted to show you the results. I thought I included the results of the experiment in this presentation, but clearly I did not. Oh no, I did actually. Here are the experiment results of this first experiment. So the control group, users who did not see the experience had a goal completion 2%, and the variant group had the goal completion 5%. So this is exactly how you would see experiment results like this. All right. And now what we're going to do next is we're going to link these 2 experiences to a welcome screen that we're going to create as well. Oops, I shouldn't have taken this out. Come back. All right. So I'm happy with these 2 flows. I'm going to just close these 2 flows so we don't get confused. I hope this is not too much for one session. And I'm just going to click on create a new flow. Again, same URL as before. Waiting for it to load. I hope you're still with me there. This is really useful. It may feel a bit slow because you need to wait for things to load while I'm sharing my screen on Zoom. But you know, believe you can and you're halfway there, as Theodore Roosevelt said. So we're halfway there. We're more than halfway there. So this is our second experiment. This one is really, really quick. So I'm just going to create a modal. Yeah, it is a flow. And this is the third experience we create, and it's going to be called welcome screen. Experiment. User onboarding again, light theme again. I'm going to add a modal. This is where we have the UI pattern for welcome screens. Okay, here is a welcome flow. Choosing this one. And now I need to customize this bit a little. So I'm going to add buttons. Okay, should have added the button here, I think. Yeah, more like this. Okay, so I'm just going to bin this part. Where's my bin? Sorry, a bit slow today. Anyway, we're going to worry about this a little later. So first I'm going to add the text here. So I've added my social media accounts, right? Happy with this. And I haven't added my social media accounts. Okay. And that's cool as well. I might have chosen the wrong template because I can't remove this button. Okay, I'm just going to say before we start, let us know. Okay, that's cool, that's correct. And now I'm going to just change it to welcome to post fatigue. Alrighty, and maybe I can try to just move this here. No. I thought I'm able to move this below and just got rid of the button that I wanted to get rid of, but it doesn't seem so. So, okay, here I'm going to, instead of going to the next step, I'm going to trigger the flow that we just created. And this will be add accounts. No, this is the wrong, not add accounts. I'm going to schedule my first post. Okay, that's correct. And with this one, I'm going to link, trigger the other flow. Sorry. Add accounts tooltip. Okay. Cool. And I'm going to use this third button for saying just let me play. All right, I can change the color of the button. Let's make it a bit brighter because I don't want them to click on it actually. Okay, and this button will just dismiss the flow. Okay, I'm happy with it, so I'm gonna leave it like this. And that's basically what I want to do with this. Okay, so now back to navigation. I can quickly preview it here. I'm happy with it, so I'm going to publish it for myself, basically. Okay, so only me, trigger only once. And again, I'm going to define a new, no, I'm not going to define a new goal. I'm going to select a goal for this experience. The goal will be to ultimately schedule my first post. And again, I'm publishing this flow. And great, it's already published. So this was our second experiment. And my hypothesis is I would probably publish it after I have gotten results of the first experiment, right? So the one with the 2 flows, right? And then, you know, I would know what is my activation rate in the control group versus in the experimental group. I would roll out the experiences for the whole cohort of my new users, and then I would introduce the second experiment, so the welcome screen. Again, so not to confound the results. And the last thing I wanted to show you, because I know this is getting terribly not wrong, is adding the checklist. So my third experiment. So this one I would run after I have established that these 2 flows and the welcome screen are working. Okay, name your checklist, experiment, checklist. All righty. Let's choose a color that is more aligned with the app. The font is fine. Beacon, get started. Yeah, that's fine. Widget, background color, da-da-da. We have all these different options here. Completion, awesome, la-di-da. We can change the placeholder text. And now the tasks, this is important. We are going to make them do them chronologically. And the first one, add your social, media accounts. No, it's not a detailed task. If somebody clicks on it, it will trigger a flow. The URL is correct. The flow will be the one we've just created. So add accounts. And I will only mark it as completed if the user actually, the custom event add accounts, connect accounts, not add account, has occurred. All right. No, not go to URL, trigger flow. Okay, so this task has been added. And now the second task, schedule your first post. Okay, again, I want to trigger a flow, not go to URL. Schedule your first post. And I will only mark it as completed when the user the custom is done, really, the custom event. Schedule post has occurred. Okay, and as you can see, they can't click on the second step because I created this checklist to be chronological before they have completed the first step. All right, cool. So now we're going to publish this. And unfortunately, we don't have A/B testing for the checklist yet. I need to see the targeting, not users, just only me. I'm going to publish it just for myself. Okay, and now basically you will need to see the task completion of the checklist once the users have started engaging with it, right? And then see how this again impacts basically goal completion. So in this case, adding social media accounts and scheduling the first post after the users have actually, after you have tested these first two experiments, so the two flows and the welcome screen, because again, you don't want to confuse your results, right? So especially with the checklist, which doesn't have the experimentation module tied to it yet, you would just need to go directly to growth insights and look at your goals and your goal completion rates before you can basically, see if the checklist had any impact. And that's really it when it comes to these free product experiments. So to sum it up, you will need to think about your key activation events. So the specific events that are leading your users to experiencing the value of your product. Then make sure you have these events as goals in Userpilot, so you can either tag them on the front end or ask your developers to pass a custom event. The custom events are better for server level events, so something that happens in the back end of the app rather than the front end, just a single click. But if you have a single click activation event, then the feature tagging is perfectly usable for that. Then you create your experiences that are leading to the key activation points separately. So one activation point, one flow, right? So one experiment, one goal. Then you roll out the experiences for the same group of audience every time, and you set up the goal for the activation points you want the users to reach as a result of this experience. And you roll out the A/B test. So you basically roll the experience out for half of your users in the new user segment, say, and the other half is your control group. And then after a while, after Userpilot has collected enough data, you get an email with your experiment results. And then hopefully you will see that your effort, which you have seen here, is paying off, and that it contributes to higher goal completion, so higher activation rate for this specific activation event in your specific segment of users, usually new user segment, because we're talking mostly about new user onboarding here. And that's it. So as you can see, in less than an hour today, I created 3 experiments without any coding at all. I had a few tiny hiccups here because sometimes I don't know, you just make tiny mistakes, right? You forget to put the time delay, or you put the time delay in the wrong place, or you add an extra tooltip and you don't realize, as it was with the more complicated flow. So you may sometimes need to tweak and play with it a little bit, just as you do with anything like graphic design or email sequences. The builder is very user-friendly here, as you saw. But yeah, you need to play with it a little bit, and but you can totally create free product experiments completely independently in like more or less half an hour, because the theoretical part probably took half an hour as well. So this is all I wanted to tell you today. I hope you enjoyed this little presentation, and if you have any questions to me, you can reach me at emilia@userpilot.co. Let me just share my details with you. emilia@userpilot.co if you need any help with experiments. I hope to see you in my inbox. And as I said, well, I'm sorry you didn't make it to the live event. This is a pre-recorded webinar. Hopefully next time, and hopefully you managed to put up with me until the very end. Good, I'll stop talking now and let you all enjoy your afternoon. See you hopefully soon. Bye bye.